Pointless there for those of you wondering where that bumper music was coming from. Here we are, ladies and gentlemen, the next evolution in talk radio. This is On Point with Victor. You are tuned into America's Web Radio. And as I mentioned before, this is the next evolution in talk radio, America's Web Radio. This is just a great spot to listen to some different type of radio and different type of talk. This is On Point with Victor. So I am Victor Armendariz, and that is Victor Armendariz for you Spanish-speaking folks out there. That is Armendariz for those of you who want to look me up. Look me up on Facebook. In fact, today, and this is a test mode, we are testing with Facebook Live. So if you're out there and you want to see me in action, which, look, folks, I pretty much got a face for radio. So if I can get my chair to rise up a little bit, I will be within the camera reach. And you can tune in and see me live on Facebook. We're going to be testing that today. So at any moment, you may see us go live with Facebook. And you can also go to YouTube. And if you go to YouTube and just type in America's Web Radio Live, we're live streaming there. So you can see me there as well. And again, fair warning, I may not be the best thing to look at, but I don't mind if you do. But again, you're tuned into On Point with Victor Armendariz. Look me up, Facebook, Twitter, Radio Victor at Twitter. I'm on Instagram, Radio Victor as well. I encourage you to look me up. I encourage you to follow me, not because I want to build numbers and say, hey, I got a lot of followers. I want you to follow me because I want you to hear what I have to say, and I want to hear what you have to say. I want to know what you think. So by following me, it gives you a great opportunity to reach out to me. Let me know when you challenge me. Let me know when you disagree. I want to hear from you. That way, I know how good of a job I'm doing. America's Web Radio knows what a good host they brought in when the more and more people chime in. So, no, in all seriousness, folks, I want to hear from you because I realize that not everyone out there is going to agree with me. And you shouldn't agree with me just based on what I say. You should always do some research. Now, I will also tell you, if your research involves CNN, MSNBC, ABC, NBC, CBS, and that's the only place you're going, or the Washington Post or the New York Times, if these are your only sources, then you really do need to listen to my show. So glad you're tuned in. You can do lots of research, folks, and you can find numbers, you can find all kinds of things, and you should be looking for alternative views. If you're stuck in your own view, that means you're going to be, or at least one view. If you're a follower, let me put it this way: if you're a blind follower, which means you'll just hear what you want to hear, or you just soak in what CNN, MSNBC, ABC, CBS, NBC, NPR, if you're just soaking in what those guys are telling you, then you become a follower. And then if you're a voter, you become married to a letter, whether that be a letter D or a letter L or a letter R. And once you do that, you give up your power. You give up any voting power you have. Now, those of you who tuned into my show a week or so ago, I went into a whole or half a show talking about the power of your vote. So I'm just to recap and touch on that again. You have all the power in the world in this country with your vote. And for those of you out there running around saying that your vote doesn't count, you're sadly mistaken. Because for every person out there that says my vote doesn't count, there's a millennial or a college student out there with a head full of mush that is going to vote, possibly, and they're going to vote for this socialism that's being rammed down their throat. So it's imperative that you guys understand that when you give up your vote, you're letting someone else speak for you. So think about it. Do you want someone else, a millennial, a college student who's in college soaking up liberal garbage and soaking up socialism garbage, do you want those people speaking for you. Because when you don't vote and they vote, then they're speaking for you. I got news for you. And for those of you in Colorado, for those of you in, let's see, what was that? Gosh, I think Delaware and any other state that is talking about saying, screw you, state voters, we're going to go with a popular vote, then you're really about to lose your voice. But that's a whole nother topic. I just can't stress enough. If you're out there and you're saying, hey, I'm not going to vote, or my vote doesn't count, there's somebody out there that's going to go vote for socialism. And if you're a part-time voter, or if you're sitting on the sidelines, but you're enjoying the capitalism that we enjoy in this country, if you're enjoying the fact that we are record unemployment right now, if you're enjoying the fact that there are more jobs than people to take them right now, if you're enjoying the fact that we have the lowest Hispanic unemployment on record right now, if you're enjoying that we have the lowest Black unemployment in history right now, if you're enjoying that women unemployment is about at historic lows, then that's capitalism. That's the United States. That's how we're living right now. Those statistics I just gave out are today's statistics. Those are the Trump economy statistics. And that's happening today. And if you don't vote and we switch directions back to the winds of socialism, or you stand by on the sidelines and you let some college schmo go out there and vote for his, I want everything for free, then where do you think this economy is going to go?
You're paid for the week.
Because it's not going to go to this helping this economy. It's not going to go to continuing the road we're on. Not saying that everything that's happening right now is perfect, but it's a heck of a lot better than the last 8 years that we went through, where we had rising unemployment and rising regulation, rising taxes, a complete takeover of the healthcare system. I could go on and on. A detrimental effect to the coal industry in Virginia and West Virginia, gas prices, because we were trying to restrict the use of fuel and fossil fuels. We can go back to that, folks, but do you really want to? Do you really want to? That's what you got to ask yourself. So, lots of things to get into today, but I definitely wanted to touch base about your vote, because it means a whole lot. And when you don't vote, you're not only hurting yourself, you're hurting me, you're hurting, well, let me rephrase that. It depends on how you vote, I guess. Now, if you're out there sitting around and you're eating up this socialism and you want everything for free, and you want to sit on your derriere and have someone else give you things for free, well, then you just stay right there. We don't want you to vote. You should have at least some sense of history to vote. And boy, that could get into a whole lot of things there with putting requirements on voting.
You realize, Victor, they're not listening to you anyway. Most people aren't.
Well,
only the smart ones that vote and are conservative and appreciate what you're talking about are listening. The ones that are asleep on their mommy and daddy's couch, they ain't listening.
Well, Producer Dave, you make a very good point. Unfortunately, I probably am, for the most part, preaching to the choir, because most of you good folks out there, you can't wait to vote. And there are a lot of, and in today, especially in the last, in the 8 years of Obama, every year it went up on how many millennials or kids. And under Obama, at 28, you were still considered a kid. And you're living in the basements, or they're living in the basements of their parents. More and more and more of that was happening. And when there are no jobs to be had, or you're taught that you don't need to care, things need to be for free, and you're owed things, or you're entitled, well, then that's what happens. You think Joe Schmo next to you should do all the work. Speaking of college kids and people living in their basements, parents' basements, I saw there's a great video out there right now. If you guys, I highly recommend you go look it up on YouTube. There is a video out there that is
it's Campus Reform, the Campus Reform guys. They put a video out and they went on college campuses and they interviewed students. And this is one of the greatest things. I had to laugh when I saw it because I've been on this train for quite a while. Those of you who are veteran listeners, you've heard me talk about this before. If college students love socialism so much, then we should start enacting that in the colleges. And not that they haven't enacted it because they're restricting free speech every day on college campuses. But we need to enact socialism on the grading scale. I used to go on and on about how we need to go into the classrooms, and if 10 students have 4.0s and 30 students have 2.8s and 60 students have 1.0s, then we need to share the wealth. It's not fair that the top 10% or the top 1% have 4.0s. It's just not fair. The other guys, don't they work hard too? Don't they deserve it? Don't they deserve more than a 1.0? So why don't we institute some socialism there and let's share the grade wealth. Let's knock off a point or two from the 4.0s and let's give it to the 1.0s. In fact, if you're 1.0, they deserve probably at least 2 points. So let's drop the 4 point to 2 points and then the 1 point to 3 points. And then if you're in the middle, maybe you get a point or a point and a half. So basically what we get to is sooner or later, everybody's going to be sitting at around 2.5 or 3.0 grade point average. Then we can all be happy together. How do you think that's going to fly on college campuses? Well, just so happens you can go to YouTube and search Campus Reform and watch the video. He did a video and he went out, the guy who runs Campus Reform, and he interviewed some students on local and colleges all around the country. And it is hilarious because first he goes through and he asks these students, do you support socialism? Oh, yeah. And then he asks, what do you prefer, capitalism or socialism? Every one of them, socialism. And then he started getting into a little bit more. Well, what about people with income you earn? And he got into some questions like that. So ponder those questions for a moment. We're going to take our first break. And then when we come back, I'm going to get into this a little bit more. You stay right there. You're listening to America's Web Radio. We'll be right back.
Get your pen and paper ready. If there's a move in your near future, I'm here to tell you that the folks I used and now recommend is Around Town Movers. Timothy and the guys recently moved me, and I am and was totally satisfied with a sometimes not so fun experience moving. Call Timothy at 770-378-4708 and make it a good move and a good experience. Around Town Movers for that local or cross-country move. Timothy, Around Town Movers, in my opinion, are the best. That's Around Town Movers. Call them.
Okay.
Perhaps you are struggling to cope with the disease of addiction. If not, you probably know a family member or friend that needs help in battling the cravings and the personal and professional damage done by the effects of drugs or alcohol. Get a pen and paper and be ready to write down the following. These are the issues that the trained staff at the Atlanta Healing Center address and treat every day. Their doctors and counselors with over 40 years of practice in the field of addiction can treat the suffering individual in a thoughtful, compassionate, and experienced manner and guide him or her along the path to recovery. So call 770-696-9862 and speak to a knowledgeable staff member about how you or your loved one can be helped to enjoy a better and healthier life. More information is also available on the website at www.atlantahealingcenter.com.
Live now.
You're listening to America's Web Radio on the AmericasBroadcastNetwork.com. Thank you for listening.
And welcome back. The Next Evolution in Talk Radio. This is America's Web Radio. You're listening to Victor Armendariz. This is On Point with Victor. And again, Spanish-speaking folks out there, Victor Armendariz. That's it. Say it with me, Armendariz. Producer Dave's looking at me like I'm crazy. So look me up, find me on Facebook. In fact, folks, we are Facebook Live right now. And it's actually working. I actually, apparently someone saw some money fall in my lap, and the question was, am I taking a payoff? Well, that was just producer Dave giving me a payoff. So we are live on Facebook. So this is kind of fun. So if you're on there, send me a comment. You can hit me up live right now. Don't be mean. You can be nice. You can be whatever you want, but I prefer you not to be mean, because if you are mean, I'm probably going to ignore you. I don't mind you disagreeing with me and challenging me, but we have to do it on a civil level. I have a lot of Facebook friends that are liberal, or they think the liberal way. I think they just don't understand socialism. Of course, any of them listening right now are probably yelling at their computers or they're streaming because let's face it, a lot of liberalism involves elitism, and elitism involves academics, and academics think they're smarter than everyone. Now, I'm not telling my listeners out there that you all think you're smarter than everyone, but let's face it, a lot of you do get a little mad when I refer to liberals as not thinking clearly or not knowing what they think they know. And that's just a fact. And I'm, you know what? Hey, there are conservatives out there that they don't know what they don't know. And some of them don't know what they think they know either. But there's a lot of that goes on. And I understand, and what everybody I wish would understand is, with liberalism and progressivism, everything is based on emotions. And when you base things on emotions, you leave out common sense, and you leave out logic, and you leave out facts. Facts just don't matter with progressivism and liberalism and today's Democrat Party. And what I mean by that is, today's Democrat Party will pick and choose facts. In fact, let me give you an example that's happening right now. The Mueller investigation, we all know that ended, and we all know that there was no Russia collusion. Mueller himself said no Russia collusion. So the summary went out, no Russia collusion. So by law, Attorney General Barr cannot release the report. A special counsel report by law cannot be released to the public willy-nilly. It cannot be just released to all the congressmen or women. And why is that, you ask? Why is that? Well, if you think back and look back in history, and during the years when Clinton was impeached, well, before that happened, there was a special counsel appointed to find out what went on with the perjury and the things he was accused of. And that special counsel did his job, did everything. Well, that pissed off the Democrats back then. So the Democrats passed a law that said a report by any special counsel going forward cannot be just handed over to the House, to the Senate, or to the public. That it had to go through the Attorney General's office. It had to be protected. Any grand jury had to be protected. Any witness had to be protected. Any witness's testimony had to be protected. These people have the right to not be known. Doesn't mean the facts of the case aren't going to come out. It doesn't mean the findings can't come out and be released. But it does mean that people in there, that they testified on the basis of being protected, their identities being protected. So that is the truth of the matter. And back in the 90s, the Democrats put that law in place about the special counsel not being able to, the Attorney General not being able to release the special counsel report. So fast forward to today. Now you've got Adam Shiftless Schiff, and I said shiftless, Schiff, pencil neck. He and along with Nadler and other Democrats of that ilk are demanding that Barr break the law and release this report. Privacy be damned. That is what these Democrats are saying today. Privacy be damned. They are trying to get the Attorney General to break the law. Now, look, Attorney General Barr is a smart guy. He's not going to break the law just because the Democrats are whining and crying and screaming and kicking and you name it. So he's going to do his job. He's not going to release it and break the law. he will redact, he will protect the identities in the grand juries and the witnesses and the testimonies, and then he will release it. He's already said he will release it. No one has said he wouldn't release it. Even President Trump has called for him to release once he's done the proper vetting and proper redaction. So this is what I mean about Democrats picking and choosing what they want when it comes to facts and when they let emotions rule the day, because they're getting out there and they're just lying to your face. So we have to be able to stand up as a voter, whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, and understand when one party is drastically getting something wrong. And especially when we have history on our side. Like I said, don't take my word for it. Go look up in the 90s when we had a special counsel that was investigating the Clinton administration. And when that report came down, and when the Democrats then changed the law and said that report cannot be released, not until the Attorney General does his due diligence. So it's by law, and that's a Democrat law that was passed back then. So now they're trying to pretend like that never happened. And you know, one reason they get away with this stuff, folks, is because too many of us, especially students, aren't learning history or forget history, but way, way, way too much. And this goes back to my whole argument against government education, is when government runs education, they can pretty much dictate what's being educated and dictate what the teachers educate. And this history is being left out. All kinds of history of the United States is being left out. The 90s wasn't that long ago. I mean, it may sound like it was that long ago. In technology, it might have been that long ago. But we can easily go back and look. And you just look at the difference. You look at the special counsel and listen, look up videos. You can find videos all over YouTube of what Democrats were saying about the special counsel back then when they were investigating a Democrat administration. And then compare that to what they're saying today about the investigation that Bob Mueller had. It's striking. And again, this is why they earned the nickname that I've given them, Hippocrats. The Hippocrat Party, they earn it every day. They earn that name every day. And again, just go look for videos and see what they were saying about the special counsel back then when it was a Democrat administration being investigated versus today when they are controlling things and they're investigating a Republican administration, one that they want to throw out because they can't accept that Hillary Clinton lost the presidential election. So I'm telling you, you'll be astonished. And if you're a Democrat voter and you can't see the hypocrisy, then you're just lying to yourself. And again, when you start doing that, you're a pawn. You're not a voter. You're not a voter that's being taken seriously by the Democrat Party. You become a pawn that's being used by the Democrat Party. So if you enjoy being a useful idiot, and I'm sorry, folks, that's what it is. When you blindly give a political party your vote, or when you stand and you see that a political party is lying to you or they're being hypocritical and you still give them your blind vote, then you're a useful idiot. There's a reason that term exists. So I could go on and on about examples of hypocrites. And look, it happens with the establishment Republicans as well. But not nearly as much as it does on the Democrat Party today. Again, I just use the example of the special counsel. Look at how the Republicans treated the special counsel investigating a Republican administration. None of them would go against it. All of them said Mueller needs to be left alone. I mean, come on, we had a couple of Republican senators that wanted to pass a ridiculous law saying that a special counsel can't be fired. That's ridiculous because that falls under the executive branch. And so that's the legislative branch that was trying to interfere and take power over the executive branch. So that's a whole nother discussion, but that happened. So you had Republicans that weren't trying to stop the Mueller investigation. They were encouraging it and protecting it. And then you go back, like I said, in history in the 90s and just look how the Democrats were reacting, how they acted when it was a Democrat being investigated. So the hypocrisy knows no bounds. In the words, in fact, of one of my favorite movies and characters, Doc Holliday, my hypocrisy knows no bounds. I probably got that wrong. I'm going to have to refer to some of my friends for movie lines, but you get the point, especially if you've seen the movie. So just that's what I want you guys to think about today. Is this hypocrisy, and stop being married to a political party. I know I jump around a little bit and I harp on this a lot, but we have to. You know, this is this is something that is just too serious to let go by the wayside. When you have someone like Adam Schiff, who is lying to you every day. I mean, this morning, Adam Schiff was on the news, and he said that the House voted 420-0 to release the Mueller report. They did no such thing, and he knows it. They voted to basically say that the Mueller report could be released to the public, not to Congress, and not to the way Schiff was being shifty with his words. And he knows that, but he also knows there's a lot of people out there who just aren't going to do their research, or they're just not keeping up with everything, and they just get their drive-by news. And what I mean by that is you just get the headlines. You're a headline guy, and so Adam Schiff knows if he throws out a headline out there, or if he throws something out there that catches attention, who's going to read past the one line? Who's going to read past the one-liner? There's a lot of people that won't. So when he says the House voted 420-0 to give the Mueller report to the Congress, that's just an outright lie. And again, you can look that up and you can verify it for yourself. So don't take my word for it, folks. Get out there. So again, ladies and gentlemen, we are live on Facebook. This is the first day we're doing this. This is great. I look great, if I do say so myself. Okay, I'm getting looked at again by the producers over here. But look, folks, we're going to go to our next break. You hang right there. I'm going to have a very special guest who's going to join us in the next segment. And we've got some great news coming that she's going to get into. So we'll be right back on the other side of this break. You stay right there.
Perhaps you are struggling to cope with the disease of addiction. If not, you probably know a family member or friend that needs help in battling the cravings and the personal and professional damage done by the effects of drugs or alcohol. Get a pen and paper and be ready to write down the following. These are the issues that the trained staff at the Atlanta Healing Center address and treat every day. Their doctors and counselors with over 40 years of practice in the field of addiction can treat the suffering individual in a thoughtful, compassionate, and experienced manner and guide him or her along the path to recovery. So call 770-696-9862 and speak to a knowledgeable staff member about how you or your loved one can be helped to enjoy a better and healthier life. More information is also available on the website at www.atlantahealingcenter.com.
You're listening to America's Web Radio on the AmericasBroadcastNetwork.com. Thank you for listening.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. And again, I'm just giddy. If you're watching me, I was rocking there to Pointless. And you can send me any requests for more of Pointless. And yes, it's a shameless plug. I can't help myself. Look, you're listening to On Point with Victor. I am Victor Armendariz. And I have with me on the phone, as we go to the phones, Lucretia Hughes. Are you there?
Yes, I am here. How are you doing, Victor?
Oh, I am doing great. So, Lucretia, can you take a second? Let's let the listeners out there, let's give them a little background on Lucretia.
A little background. Me and Victor actually go a couple of years now. I've known you. I met you on the Greg Howard show. And you know what? To me, you're like a really great friend. Just one of those people like, hey, miss you. But hopefully in the future, we'll be doing a lot of endeavors together.
Oh, without a doubt. And absolutely, Lucretia, I consider you an awesome friend. You have been one of those people that you meet, and it's an instant connection. And you are so awesome. And I think my listeners are going to just absolutely feel the same about you. And I know you also do a show, Lucretia. You want to tell everybody about it real quick?
I do a show Monday, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, 3 times a day. My nightly show is on the Range Broadcast on Facebook, YouTube, iHeart. But it's from 5 to 7, and I come back on at 9 on my own show on Facebook and YouTube. And then I do what we call resistant radio too. It's I call it 4 hillbillies and a black chick. So we talk about current events, what's going on in the news, and also in politics. But that's my passion.
That's awesome. Did I hear you say resistance? I know you're not part of the resistance.
Please, everybody better wake up, start paying attention.
You know what, Lucretia, you're absolutely right. You know, I want to get into some of that, and again, just so people will understand. They, you know, most of the listeners out there, they know I'm Hispanic, and I just want them to know that yes, Lucretia happens to be a black lady who is not afraid to wear her Trump shirt or her Make America Great Again hat, or you're just not afraid to put it on your sleeve.
What are you talking about?
Exactly. So, but tell, I mean, you're not afraid at all, Lucretia, are you, to go out anywhere and wear, let's just say, Trumpism on the sleeve?
No, I'm not. Why should I be ashamed of what I believe in? Why should I hide my faith or my belief because you don't like it? I'm sorry, I wasn't created to tiptoe around people.
Oh, amen to that. So it's just amazing. It is amazing to me how just the other day I was listening to, there was it was kind of a forum, and I'm not sure if you knew about this was going on, Lucretia, but at the Apollo Theater, they had Al Sharpton, and you name it. If they were a black Democrat, they had them on this forum, although there was a couple of conservatives. In fact, I think Sonny Johnson was there, who, those of you who aren't familiar, Sonny Johnson is a radio host on Sirius. Awesome lady as well. But Lucretia, I was just amazed. It was painful to listen, but I try to listen to the other side just so I know what we're up against, or I get reminded what we're up against. But for lack of a better term, the crap that will come out of Al Sharpton's mouth as he looked at this audience and told them that Trump was the devil, that Trump was going to put them basically Biden lines of if you want to go back to change, this is we're the stuff he was telling them that the Trump administration was going to do to them, but yet all the evidence is, lowest black unemployment in history, economy on fire, all the good things that happened weren't talked about.
He's going through a midlife crisis because that's the only thing he can think about. He's thinking about the heyday when they had to travel 25 miles to the nearest school. That's the only thing that makes him important is a civil rights. You can't knock him for it, but dang, how long ago was that? Let it go, bro. You are the one that cannot let racism go. I'm not saying there's not racist people out there, but just because you disagree with what I have to say, there's two other terms you need to come in contact with. That's being prejudiced and bigot, okay? I think I'm superior over dumbass people. That's just me. I'm prejudiced because I prefer to stay off and around dumbass people. And you know what? If you want to call me a bigot, because I just don't like dumbass people. And I like to keep it that way.
Lucretia, I am 100% with you. And let me tell you, I've been called a light brown or not brown enough. Or, it's ridiculous what liberals who are supposed to be compassionate people, open-minded people, they're supposed to believe all these wonderful things, but yet I haven't experienced that. And just what you've talked about just now, the vitriol that'll come out of a liberal towards someone like you or someone like me.
Okay, so how do I act black enough? I'm trying to figure that out. When did I stop acting black?
Do you know how to not act black? Isn't that?
I don't know any other way because I call myself country ghetto. I was raised in the country, but I can get ghetto on you at the same time.
and I have seen Lucretia go ghetto. You do not want to be on the end of that.
No, I don't understand this. You know what? It's not what they call you. It's what you answer by. And once they got to the point where if that's all you got to say, then you're wasting my time. And my energy can be focused on something else than to argue with dumbass people.
Oh, you just hit it on
my favorite word. I would say dumbasses, but we talking about individuals now. You can't put everybody in a broad group. You can't generalize everybody. So now I have to just type of that.
Yeah, well, you're absolutely right, and I tell you, I was very lucky. I consider myself very lucky growing up with a dad who constantly told me, I don't care where you're from, or I don't care how brown you are, or it doesn't matter which language you're speaking, whether it's Spanish or English. He goes, none of that matters. What matters is your education. What matters is what you think of yourself. And what matters is exactly what you said, Lucretia, what you answer to. And he always told us, always as growing up, to me, my brothers and my sisters, always said, none of that matters. Your education matters, and what you do with your life matters. And if somebody gets in your way, you go around them, you go over them, you go under them, but never can they stop you. Not in the United States of America. He said, no one can stop you with words. And Lucretia, that's what we're up against is words. And you're absolutely right. You are what you answer to.
But wait a minute, you called me too many words. I'm coming after you. I love to snap back. Call me Trump light. Don't go too far.
Yeah, there you go. No, you know what?
Don't turn the other cheek.
Absolutely. That's right. And if you do, you're going to turn both of them at the same time.
Yeah, because all four are chased after all the stuff we've been called, the stuff that we have seen, the stuff we've been warning people about for years. Now it's kind of being vindicated because it's coming true. But we've been through the fire. A lot of us have. It just made us tougher. And we're not going to sit by and idly watch our nation, be sold away.
Yeah. And that's true. And, Lucretia, I have a theory, and see if you agree, or actually I'd like you to chime in on this theory. But I think the Democrat Party doesn't ever want to, first of all, I don't think they want to solve any problems. But especially when it comes to race relations, I think the Democrat Party wants to at least kindle the flame of race relations. They want to continue to divide. If you look at 8 years under Obama had a great chance to really stand up and say, okay, look, black folk, look what I've gotten to and look what I've accomplished. You can accomplish it. You in Harlem can accomplish it. You in Chicago can accomplish. But I think the Democrat Party, if race relations ever went away, if race baiting ever went away, how would they then go after and put someone on a plantation to always get their votes?
Well, hate sells. That's just
Yeah.
the way it is. You hurry up and do a rubberneck or a wreck, but you ain't going to pretty much stop to pick the roses or the daisies. Hate sells. But you got to look past that hate. That is what the Democrat Party is. Obama, not doing on to have a damn clue what it means to be black in America. So let's not get on that because he didn't step foot over here until he was 18 years old. So I'm sick of that thing. Now, when you talk about race relations, not only he did that, he divided society when it came to cops. I've never in my life saw somebody that did not protect our military, not protect our police officers. He didn't stand up there and do a fear summit. Really, a fear summit. But when it was being targeted on the street, you didn't step up to even try to say anything about it. But you did have Black Lives Matter there. So the race relation is ridiculous. But you got to understand, you are a Generation X. We are in the midst of one of the greatest generations of our past, and watching what's going on now and being disgusted because we let it get too far.
Oh, we let it get too far, and we too many times or too often we sit back and we don't stand up, or we allow the Democrats or progressives or the hypocrite left, we allow them to set the narrative. And whenever they put out these narratives and we don't start standing up to it, but we accept it, even when we say, well, yeah, let's take, for instance, the whole climate change debacle. If we accept part of that narrative, which too many Republicans do, oh, well, yeah, there's global warming, but, then they go on. We're not attacking that narrative. We're letting the narrative stand. And that's the same thing that happens with race relations, is it not?
I don't know. I don't go outside looking for racism. My fiance is a white guy. My grandchildren are mixed. My grandfather and grandmother was the first interracial couple of Jackson County, Georgia. I don't know what the hell you talking about. I'm sorry. I don't see racism when I walk out my front door because I'm not looking for it.
See?
Maybe that's because my paradigm has shifted. I used to be that ugly, bitter person a very long time ago, but I'm not now. Maybe being a grandmother, it puts your life in perspective. And I have 7 offspring I have down to 2, and I'm talking about my grandchildren. So I'm not looking at society as a whole right now. I'm looking at the legacy that is my duty to leave my next generation.
Now, Lucretia, you do not look old enough to have 7 grandkids.
Well, 2 daughters haven't got started. I only have 4 kids. Blame the boys.
Oh, wow. Well, but you're absolutely right. That is the difference, I think, Lucretia, in how the light that you saw or that paradigm shift that you mentioned. I went through the same thing. And a lot of it was definitely the influence that my father had on me. I remember a time when I couldn't have been, I bet I was 8 or 9 years old. And I heard the first person refer to my father as a wetback. And my father laughed it off, and I don't remember what he called him back, but they ended up joking about it, and it was because of the way my father handled it. And later on, I asked, what a wetback is, and he told me and everything, and then again he told me those are words. Words aren't going to do anything. Don't let those words hold you back, and don't let those words turn into anger. Because anger is going to turn into just an ugly person. And so you're right so much, Lucretia, when you talk about how your paradigm shift. And instead of being an angry black lady, you became an accepting, welcoming, I'm not going to judge anyone by their color or creed. You judge people by their character.
Still in there. Don't push it. I'm just saying.
She can come out when she needs to.
Yes.
But you know what I'm talking about, because I'm the same way. You can't judge people right away by the color of their skin. I mean, you should judge people.
You can call us naive like that, but that's just the way we was raised. We weren't raised to look over our shoulder. Most of us had friends of every walk of life. All of us did. So now when we're seeing it, and it was like, wait a minute, your homie is, but don't say nothing about it. It's not a narrative on the whole. And you got to keep remembering that they on the news broadcast, they never go interview the guy with the tuxedo on. It's the one that can make sound effects. And that's in every community. It seems like the worst of that community speaks for everybody as a whole. And we're seeing it on a grander scale.
You are 100% right about that. And that's what I mean we need to get individualism back. I talk on my show a lot about individualism. We need to get that back, because we need to not be afraid to stand up like you do, like I do. When I go to some Hispanic events, and a lot of them are political, and I'll stand out like a sore thumb, because I usually am one of the few conservatives or libertarian conservatives there, but I won't hide it. And when people challenge me, I will definitely stand up and take up for my beliefs.
I'm a Tea Party president and a GRA, a LRA. I'm on the board, I nominate the board for the NRA. I'm like, yo, where the rest of the black folks at?
Hey. Amen to that.
Seriously?
Lucretia, I want to touch on that when we come back. We got to go to a break, so you hold on right there, Lucretia. Folks, you hold on. We will be right back after this break. You're listening to America's Web Radio.
This is Dr. Susan Blank, host of Detailing Addiction and medical director of the Atlanta Healing Center. Please join me on Tuesday afternoons at 4 p.m.
On the AmericasBroadcastNetwork.com. Thank you for listening.
Cook Immigration Partners is your passport through the immigration maze. Whether it's help with E-Verify in your business, or help in how to document a new employee under the new I-9 rules, or if you marry a foreign national, Cook Immigration Partners is your best choice for a legal advocate. Call us today at 866-286-6200. That's 866-286-6200, or visit us on the web at www.immigration.net.
Hello, I'm Dr. Mike Karuchak. Have you ever wondered what doctors talk about amongst themselves? If you do, join us on the Doctor's Lounge and hear the doctors' conversations amongst themselves. Join me and my co-host, Dr. Hal Schertz, every Thursday morning, 8 to 9 a.m.
You're listening to America's Web Radio on the AmericasBroadcastNetwork.com. Thank you for listening.
And we're back. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen.
You are listening to America's Web Radio. This is On Point with Victor, the next evolution in America's Talk, Radio, in Talk Radio, America's Web Radio. I am on the phone with Lucretia Hughes, if you're just tuning in. Lucretia, let's talk about where we left off there about standing up and being proud, and you mentioned you're head of a Tea Party, you're on the NRA board, you're on these different things, and you look around and you go, where are the black folk at? And a lot of times I do the same. Where are the Hispanic folk at? What do we need to do, Lucretia, to get more and more people to understand that they need to stop being afraid to come out? Because I know there are more of us out there than we know about. Uh-oh. Did I lose you? Did we lose Lucretia? Stand by, folks. We may have a little technical difficulties here. Let me see. Lucretia, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, perfect. There you are. Excellent, excellent. So, sorry about that.
No, you're fine.
So,
That's what we can do. We can only witness the people. We can't browbeat them to death. We can't do anything. You can't nag them to death. But you can get out there and be an example, and that's what I choose to do. I if I'm gonna walk and talk it at the same time, then I'm gonna have proof to show the people. If I can do it, what's your problem? If a woman had 4 kids before she was 20 years old, and if I can do it now at 44, what's your problem? Why are you giving up?
oh, amen to that. And that's the thing. People have got to stop giving up. You know, Lucretia, earlier in the show, I was talking about how powerful voting is. And when people give me this business of my vote doesn't count and all that, that's giving up. And when they give up their vote and then you give up your individuality, you can't, I guess at that point, Lucretia, they just can't complain anymore. And I bet you're like me, you get tired of hearing it.
Yeah, I'm sick of the defeated attitude. I am so sick of, I can't do it. I'm just one person. I can guarantee you they can't stop us all. If that one person goes to another person, that makes 2, and it multiplies. So if you're going to give up your freedom, then go ahead and do you. But I'm not. I have a lot to fight for. But first, you got to figure out why you're fighting, what you're mad at, and what you're passionate about.
You know what, Lucretia? That's I don't think I've ever heard it better said than what you just said. What are you mad at? And that's, let's get down to that. Ask yourself, why are you so angry? And then move on, because I venture to say that there's so many angry Democrats and leftists out there. If they just reflect and figure it out, they're going to come to the libertarian and the conservative and the Tea Party side.
You know what I'm angry about? I'm angry about murder. I'm angry that the United States of America decided to put a legal murder bill on law. I am sick of people not taking up for our veterans, for our elderly, for our homeless, and our children. There's a lot to be pissed off about. And then on top of that, you want to get rid of the Constitution. You're attacking the Bill of Rights, and you're attacking free speech in the Second Amendment. There's a lot of stuff to get pissed off about. And stop being distracted. You're not a squirrel.
There you go. That's it. Stop being distracted by these little things that a certain hypocrite party tells you is important, such as, oh, you can't get anywhere because of this, that, and the other. No, you should get angry about the very things that you, Lucretia, just mentioned, along with all the states now that are trying to do away with the Electoral College, with a Democrat Party who was telling people that, oh, we need to go with a popular vote. We need to allow the city of LA and the city of New York to basically set the notion and the direction of this country. No one else, everyone else's voice be damned.
Actually, they've already been doing that. If all these things, especially when it all started coming out, and who wrote the book on demolishing Electoral College, it all came from California. It's all mentored that way. And if you look at the politicians of today, they're trying to mimic California on a global scale or on a nationwide scale. So let's not even get on the UN, and then let's not get on Agenda 2030 and Agenda 21. There's so many different directions that we can sit here and say, this is what's happening. Where have you been, and why are you just now paying attention? But thank you that you are.
Absolutely. And yeah, don't get me started on the UN. I think we need to kick them out. But that there's so much that we need to continue to do, and there is a fight, for lack of a better word, that's ahead of us going into 2020. Lucretia, real quick, as we're I don't want to run out of time before we give you a chance to talk about a certain event that's coming up.
Thank you, Victor, for actually being one of the speakers. I'm doing a 3rd annual rally. It's tax day, April 15th, from 11 to 4. There are 33 speakers nonstop going, and it's a rally that is going to be supporting God, family, country, and Trump. And that's why I titled it Get Right Rally, because we need to get back to the core foundations of our nation. And without those four, we don't have it. If you don't have God, if you don't have family, if you don't have a country, we ain't got Trump. So what they tell you, right now, we have a reprieve when it comes to the destruction from within and what the Democrats and the leftists and the progressive had planned for us. It's time for the people to unite together and come together and celebrate that, hey, we're watching you. We are coming together to unite and network and go home energized and get ready for the 2020, because that's a fight. It's going to be funny because they're crazy.
They're absolutely crazy, and it is going to be a fight. So that is April 15th from 11 to 4, and it's going to be at the state capitol?
Yes, it is. It's at the Liberty Plaza.
So Liberty Plaza in the state of Georgia. So if you're in Georgia...
Donations, because if people coming, I want to be able to feed y'all hot dogs and refreshment. You know what? This is the third annual, and I'm just surprised. We got the Rabbi Schifrin, the surfing rabbi, coming all the way to California.
Wow.
The former Congressman Bob Barr. The Hayes brothers, to Pastor Mark Burns, to C. O'Brien. This, to me, is a big deal. And there's many, many, many more.
That is huge. And well, Lucretia, first of all, I got to tell you, I'm honored to know you, but I'm honored that you asked me to speak.
Just me, Victor. I'm just me, and you know me. So, you know, people are like, that's really you. Who am I supposed to be?
Exactly.
All I can say, I am who I am.
That's absolutely right.
Thank y'all. I called and y'all said yes.
And that's what I love about you. But I really am. I'm honored to be a part of this. I hope to be a part of it every year. I'm looking forward to it. So if you are in Atlanta and you're in Georgia, you have no excuse but to show up to this rally on April 15th in Liberty Plaza in Atlanta from 11 to 4. You've got to come hang out with Lucretia. She is an absolute trip on the radio. So imagine what she's like up close and personal. So take my word for it, folks. You want to be there. And if you're outside of Georgia and you can get here, hey, make it a trip. Make it a fun trip. Come out here on tax day.
We are accepted donations because everybody keeps saying, how much you spending? I don't know, every year. It's a wing and a prayer. And that is what I believe in. And all this came together and it's coming together by the grace of God. And like-minded individuals are also coming together. So, you know what? If it's $10, if it's $20, we appreciate it. And you can find it at the Eventbrite page and also at the GoFundMe, because I'm not too scared to beg.
Well,
we as a nation can't do this individually. We don't have to come together as a swarm.
Oh, there's without a doubt. You know, I talk about individualism, but we have to come together as one huge, big group of individuals. And that's absolutely right. Well, again, Lucretia, where can somebody go to donate?
They could go to the Eventbrite page. The reason why we're asking people, a lot of people to register at the Eventbrite, you can also donate there, is because we let the Capitol Police kind of give the estimate of the crowd that's going to be there. Right now, it's total about 300 people saying they're going to come. And you can also look for us at GoFundMe at the Get Right Rally.
Awesome. So that's
smiling because I really appreciate it. If it wasn't for y'all, we wouldn't have been able to afford 4 porta potties. So that's 400 people. If 150 people show up, that's one voice, one vision.
Wow.
With no money.
Man, yeah, right. Well, I hope that some of our listeners will jump in and help. I tell you, and now, can they find? I'm sure they can find me on Facebook. I'm sure they can find you, Lucretia, on Facebook and find out more.
Find me at Lucretia Hughes. We also are we're under Lucretia Hughes page. Lucretia Hughes, I got like 5 pages. I'm the black chick. Okay, I'm the black Lucretia Hughes. This was for me. And we have also, if it wasn't for Victor, we talked about it a couple of years ago. You were talking about getting your own LLC and production company. We literally have all our eggs in one basket. So I have no idea what God is about to lead me. I'm just enjoying the ride, and I really appreciate it.
Oh, that is awesome. Well, I'm sure it's going to lead you somewhere awesome. And I tell you, Lucretia, I think huge things are going to be available down the road. And who knows what you and I will end up doing. I think this is going to be a great event, and I can't wait to stand next to you, as I always will, when it comes to fighting back progressivism and socialism. There aren't many better people to stand with. And I think of it with the example that you and I can set. And this isn't to pat us on the back, LaQuisha. It's just you and I are willing to get up and stand up. And there are a lot of other people that are supporting us and supporting you.
There's going to be over, I know, 10 people staying here at the house alone.
Oh, wow.
I said, why don't you do an award banquet? I'm not bougie. I'm going to be in tennis shoes and blue jeans that whole day. And you know what? What I planned on doing, and I'm going to send you an invite, we're going to have just a good old Southern barbecue. Barbecue with chicken, hot dogs, and hamburgers with the fixin'. And my mom is baking 5 different desserts. That is how I'm telling everybody, thank you for coming. I can't pay you, but I can feed y'all.
Wow, that's awesome. So that's going to be some home-cooked meal. So that's some home-cooked food coming our way, is what you're saying, LaQuisha.
So a lot of them can't afford hotels. They're going to stay here at our place.
Wow.
And I know right now it's 10 people from all the way to California to New Mexico that's coming here to the rally to speak. We couldn't afford to get hotels, but we have a big enough property where they can bring RVs and actually park or whatever they need to do. There's always a place to stay here for the speakers that can't actually afford a hotel but still willing to come.
Well, that is amazing, LaQuisha. Well, on that note, we're going to have to end this hour. Thank you so much for joining me, LaQuisha. And I and all my listeners, I'm sure, are looking forward to this rally, the Get Right Rally, April 15th. Folks, tune in and make sure you go to this rally on April 15th in Liberty Plaza in Atlanta. So that's the first hour in the books. You guys hang on. We'll be right back after this break. America's Web Radio.
You're listening to America's Web Radio on the AmericasBroadcastNetwork.com. Thank you for listening.
Cook Immigration Partners is your passport through the immigration maze.